Hello, my friend. We have a trophy in hand, and momentum on our side. Fantastic work. We conquered Club America to win the CONCACAF Champions League, then stormed back into MLS with a 3-0 win over Chicago, a 5-1 Open Cup thrashing of Cincinnati, and a 4-0 rout of Minnesota. A dominant 2-0 win in San Jose kept us rolling, and most recently, a 3-1 victory over Atlanta, with Sevillano, Zanotti, and Green on the score sheet. We're flying. Now, a big one, the US Open Cup quarter-final against New York City. A derby, knockout football, no room for mistakes. Keep them pressing, keep them fighting, and let's take another step towards silverware. You know what to do, get it done.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 78 of Red Bull KloppBot here on Sean Does FM with the New York Red Bulls. I hope you're doing well, and come up today we've got the quarterfinals of the US Open Cup as we look to defend that title, and we've got a Hudson River Derby as we take on New York City. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that, as well as a little bit of a recap of what we've done off the back of the end of last week, which if you missed, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner, of course. The CONCACAF Champions League final where we took on Club America, and thankfully just avoided there in FMing and did pick that up in the final there with a 2-1 win in New Jersey. So thankfully, coming to this week as the champions of CONCACAF, fingers crossed we can also pick up some cup competitions during the course of this week as we make our way towards those MLS playoffs, which we should definitely be in, because as you can see there through that league table probably just above my head, we've got a big old gap on top of the Eastern Conference, 10 points clear of the team that we're about to play in the quarterfinals of this US Open Cup, and that is off the back of that Champions League final. Our form has been pretty darn good. We've played 6 games, picked up 5 wins and also 1 draw. First up, with a little bit of rotation off the back of that final win over Club America, we picked up a 3-0 win over the Chicago Fire. Leroy Sané there with a first half penalty. William also popped up there with the first half goal before Paul Peters came off the bench and picked one up as well. So a good 3-0 win for us there to continue building that gap on top in the East, and also the Supporters Shield in the MLS. Off the back of that, did have the next round of the US Open Cup. Did think, considering we beat Cincinnati 6-1 before that CONCACAF Champions League final, this was a game that we could skip over, and to be fair, a very similar result did put out here a pretty strong team for this game, obviously, seeing as the MLS really just got to qualify for the top 8. Doesn't seem to have too much impact on what happens in the playoffs. We do qualify there in your conference, but a good 5-1 win for us here is very similar to that result just before that Champions League final for Kundo Molina with a hat-trick. Also, Zhao Hongyu and Daniel Edelman picked up goals. They did equalise early on there for a canoe penalty, a poor one given away there by Genesis, aren't we? But thankfully, kicked away nicely there and picked up a big win. Off the back of that, a similar scoreline, 4-0 over Minnesota back in the MLS. Tikvich, Sane, Pirani and Castillo popping up here with goals, backing it up with a 2-0 win away from home against San Jose, who of course do have Rodrigo Muniz on their books, one of the first strikers that we did sign here at the Red Bulls. Molina and Edelman there with second half goals off the back of Julio Cesar missing a pen in the first half. Thankfully, that didn't prove too costly. Then we went to Dallas, and a very, very boring game. Pretty sure here there was only one highlight, and it was a 0-0 draw. So that game was definitely one that we thankfully did skip over before we took on MV's new team in Atlanta United and bet them 3-1. Early goals there to Sevillano and Matthias Zanotti before Brian Green made it 3-0 there. With 20 minutes to go, they grabbed one back a few minutes off the back of that third goal, but still, we pick up there a nice comfy win. So only dropped points there in 1 of 5 MLS games since you were last here. So that's the reason we've got that big old gap on top of the Eastern Conference, albeit over in the West, it's only 5 points clear on top of the Supporters Shield because FC Dallas are there on 35 points. So a decent gap on top of both the Eastern Conference and the Supporters Shield, albeit not quite as big there as we search to defend that Supporters Shield title here at the Red Bulls this season. But while those last couple of games have been going on, one of the reasons that maybe we did drop points to Dallas a couple of games ago is off the back of that CONCACAF Champions League final. We are smack bang in the middle if we click over the world and go here to international of a FIFA World Cup. So it does mean that currently we are missing a couple of players. I do say we're smack bang in the middle of it. Hasn't actually kicked off yet because we're still getting through some warm-up games, and it does mean that not just the players who are taking part of this tournament, but also some teams who have got some friendly action, they're also missing for this game that we are about to play. So in terms of our squad going into this quarterfinal of this US Open Cup, we are missing Koulibaly with Mali. I'm pretty sure those guys are at the World Cup. Obviously, William being Brazilian and having just got his first cap before that World Cup, definitely away and probably will be there for a fair while too, considering that's with Brazil. So it does mean we're missing 2 of our DPs here for the next month or so at the Red Bulls. And also, while that was happening, we picked up an injury to Facundo Molina. A pulled abdominal muscle does mean he's out for a further 6 days to 2 weeks. So unfortunately, a little bit light on striker here, especially because Hugo Castillo has just come back from one of those international games in the lead up to the World Cup with Peru. He's back because they didn't qualify, but he's not quite on a full green heart. So it does mean you have to see what Brian Green can do for us here up front. But to be fair, so far in the save, he's been more than adequate when we've needed to use him there in place of Molina or last year Oliveira. But Castillo, unfortunately, not quite fit coming back from Peruvian duty. Definitely going to get a fair bit of game time though while Molina is out with that injury. And as well as that, got a couple of players who unfortunately are on a heavy workload from that last game that we did play in the MLS, and it does come at wingback. We've got Utley coming in there for Zanotti on the right-hand side, and Apples comes in for Zenta on the left-hand side. Obviously, also Pacheco in goal to replace Koulibaly, seeing as he's over at the World Cup. And more long-term, Zhao Hongyu at right wing. Was hoping we could try Castillo at right wing, but international duty plus that Molina injury does mean that will have to be put on hold. Zhao Hongyu can get some game time. Can the Chinese international with a lot of potential. So not quite a full strength 11 for us here for this big Hudson River Derby in the US Open Cup. But fingers crossed here, we can still beat a team who are 10 points behind us in the Eastern Conference. But to be fair, sitting and seeing it looks like that squad pretty similar to the last couple of times that we have taken them on. The manager likes a 4-2-3-1. Pretty sure he was there last season. Ismael Casas is their captain, a Spanish defender at 30 years old, a handy player, but nothing too special, truth be told. Their vice captain, Santiago Rodriguez, again handy, but shouldn't be too special should the 31-year-old Uruguayan. And Anthony is still their key player, not that annoying one that burnt us back at RB Leipzig. Definitely looks like the best player on their squad, but I think we've got some players here who do have more talent, albeit some of them are now at that World Cup. So fingers crossed here we can beat City and make our way through the semi-finals of the US Open Cup. To be fair, I think that semi-final is a couple of months away, so this probably is the only game coming up in today's episode, so we can then skip forward. And I think then it'll either be that semi-final or get stuck in to the League's Cup. So definitely going to focus on the Cup competitions here this week on the channel, provided we don't get knocked out. Otherwise, there might be some rather meaningless games coming up in the MLS. So fingers crossed here we can pick up a win in this Hudson River Derby in the quarterfinals of the US Open Cup and make our way through to the Final Four. And here are the team sheets for the quarterfinal here of the US Open Cup, a Hudson River Derby. We ran through our team before, some changes definitely down the right-hand side, left back as well as goalkeeper. And there are New York City. They look pretty good, and to be fair, coming to this one in some pretty good form as well. So fingers crossed here we can beat them at the Red Bull Arena and make our way through the semis as we look to make it 2 years in a row with that US Open Cup. And we have to wait a fair while for the first proper highlight of this game. 30 minutes in, we do get a chance to do something on the counter-attack. Did have a highlight before, but Green was offside and missed the target, so really don't count that one as a proper highlight, but eventually something happening there. Nice ball over the top there for Sam, who puts it away. It's only a second goal for the club. Gabriel Pirani is having some season here with the New York Red Bulls. Definitely been our most consistent so far here in this 2030 season, and thankfully helps us take here a 1-0 lead. That ball is pin perfect to Sam Amayao. He puts it away. It's just in behind the defence there on the bounce, and Sam can get him behind and put that one away. Top right corner, you can see the stats here so far. It's been a pretty quiet game, but thankfully we're 1-0 in front. And we just make our way here into 2 minutes of added time in the first half. So to be fair, that was a very quiet first 45 minutes of this game, but thankfully that lovely ball you saw there from Gabriel Pirani, which did link up with Sam, does mean that we take a 1-0 lead into the sheds. To be fair, not super dominant, but New York haven't really threatened with an XG of 0.13. So fingers crossed we can keep them quiet here in the second half with a few players missing on World Cup duty. To be fair, didn't look like New York City had anyone at the World Cup like we did. Looking quickly at the team news back on the home screen before we made our way into this game. And an early highlight here in the second half. Fingers crossed this half a lot more action-packed than that first one. Was a chance there too on the edge of the box, the first time finish. Unfortunately, it just goes wide. Still 1-0 to the Red Bulls, albeit only a few minutes later, New York City here do have a free kick. They play it 1-4 there to Gustavo before going back there to Mackenzie. Now Rodriguez plays that one back there to Navarro, cuts inside, and again they find Gustavo before he goes back to Mackenzie. Now it's Gustavo again on the ball. He's definitely having a big hand here. And what we do is Mel floats that one far post. Pacheco comes out to get it. He doesn't get there. And Yeboah puts it into an open net. Oh, Pacheco. Boy, I hope Mali get knocked out of the World Cup early. Because Koulibaly, we could potentially have used him there. He's quite a tall lad. Is our first choice goalkeeper. And Pacheco there is an absolute stinker, which allows City to make it 1-1. Off the back of that, Caesar picks up a yellow card. We're probably going to play things safe here, even in a situation like this. So Sevillano can come on for him off the back of that goalkeeping howler, which has allowed City to make it 1-1. And only a few minutes off back that previous sub. Now, aren't we down here before a corner's about to take place? So we'll definitely take him off here for Zanotti. And while we hear a couple of other players out there aren't looking too good, and we've got some big talent on the bench that we could bring on for them. So we're going to bring on here Castillo for Brian Green and Berchamis for Sam. Of course, Berchamis is a nice link there at left back with Aaron Zenta, so hopefully can make the most of that, albeit now I say that, Zenta's not playing this game, he's on the bench, so it's definitely not a good idea, but a chance there from the corner. Thankfully, we clear that one away. I might actually get a chance here on the counter-attack. Green now, edge of the box, we'll pick out here Sane, takes a touch with his chest and rockets that one into the top right corner. Maybe we shouldn't take Green off because that was a very good assist, albeit Castillo is definitely a better player, so despite the fact I'm thinking about it, we might just stick those subs that we were going to make, but thankfully that highlight ended up being a goal for us despite the fact that we was down and didn't actually take part in that highlight. But a lovely ball there from Green. Both Sane and Sam were lining up for that one, but Sane with a wonderful finish, of course, retiring at the end of the season. Fingers crossed he can help us win a lot of trophies before that retirement. He makes it 2-1 with still 35 minutes left. And coming up to the hour mark now, we've got a throw in here inside the final third. Apples there, we'll find Sane goes back to Berchamis before Sane plays that one all the way back there to Tikvich. Now it's Apples who cuts inside. Let's see what we can do here. Sevillano finds Pirani in a ton of space. As I said, probably so far our most consistent player this season. Not too sure if that's going to be shown by the overall average rank, because some players have had some brilliant games here and there. Unfortunately, can't do anything from that subsequent corner, but Pirani has been in great form this season. Obviously got the assist for that first goal. We're about to make our way into the last 20 minutes of this one. Leroy Sané does drop down to a red heart, as does Gabriel Pirani. He's got a decision here to make with our final sub of this game. Sané is probably a bit more injury prone. So Edelman here, I think, will come on for Sané. We'll try Pirani in an advanced playmaker role, which you can do a decent job in, and hopefully that helps us hold on to our 1-goal lead. And we're just about to sneak our way here into the final 10 minutes of this game, so I think with only the 1-goal lead, it's time for us here to do some ever so slight time wasting. Nothing more just yet. We'll see if we need to do that a further 5 minutes on, but so far, pretty well in control of this game. To be fair, hasn't been the most exciting. Unfortunately, Edelman there has picked up an injury. Of course, can't do anything having brought him on with our final sub. But now, with 5 minutes left here before injury time, let's start to really slow things down and hope that New York City don't get a late chance here to take this one to extra time. As you can see, despite the fact we've been rotating fairly frequently in our last couple of games, there are still some quite tired players out there as we get landed this one. We've got 6 minutes of added time coming up back of this highlight, but thankfully there's a throw in our favour. Zanotti starts to make his way forward there down the right hand side, tries to float that far post, no one home. Zanotti gets back on the ball, but unfortunately a loose touch does mean that Polo can claim that one for City. They pump it deep, but thankfully Apples does quite well there to win that in the end. Now Zanotti plays that one over there to Sam these days down our right hand side, picks out here for Sevillano, will play it to Edelman, gets it back and tries to put that one top right corner. Unfortunately it goes just wide, and it's still 2-1, but now going deep into injury time here in this quarter-final. There's a late highlight. Apples, thankfully, will take his time on this throw, so it should only be 1 minute by the time this ball does get put in play, which it does now. Apples will find their Berchamis running away from goal. Back to Sevillano. Edelman goes searching for the top left corner, goes close, but not quite on target enough. But thankfully, that looks like it should do it for this game. Indeed it does. We were ever so slightly there on the front foot. Thankfully, didn't take us too long to respond there from that Yeboah equaliser off the back of that Pacheco howler early on in the second half. Goals there to Sam as well as to Sane did help us pick up a 2-1 win. So certainly not our most impressive performance, but given we had a fair few players missing there with the World Cup and also coming back from international duty recently for some of those warm-up games, I think we'll take that, especially in a derby that's one that could have been quite tricky there in the quarterfinal of this cup, but thankfully we're still alive when we knock out our rivals there in the quarterfinals. So we just do enough there to beat New York City in the quarterfinal of that US Open Cup. You can see there we've made our way through to the semi-finals off the back of that 2-1 win. Definitely a team who are on the front foot, Pirani, as I've been saying for a fair while now, having an absolutely wonderful season here with the Red Bulls. Let's check out here how he is looking in his second full season here at the club. And he's got a very nice average rating, 3 goals, 5 assists, 2 player of the matches, and 10 appearances. Certainly is living up to that hype I am giving him. But it does mean now we've made our way through the semi-finals of this competition. We do have to check out what happened in the other quarterfinals. Austin got past Memphis 3-1. Charlotte got past Louisville 2-0. Not too surprising considering the teams they beat are from down in the USL. Seattle, though, have been knocked out by a USL team in the Colorado Springs. That one, though, in a penalty shootout. So it does mean we've got the sneaky chance there of taking on someone from the USL in that US Open Cup semi-final. If we do, it should see us put in a strong position to play one of Austin or Charlotte in that final, if that is how things work. Unfortunately, won't find out for a fair while because the draw for that semi doesn't take place for another month. So I think that's where we're going to leave things for today's episode. Decent win there over City in that US Open Cup quarterfinal. But now, a lot of games I've got to play off camera before we come back for tomorrow's episode, which will probably be in late July. When the Leagues Cup gets underway, we might make our way through the group stage or even come back for a knockout game, depending just how much I can get through off camera. Because as you can see, right off the back of that, then we've got that semi-final, just not too sure who that will be against yet in the US Open Cup. But if you enjoyed today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well until tomorrow for some more cup football, probably in the Leagues Cup. Thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.